ZeBirdBrain, and today we are talking about rigging and character designs, and also gradients? So today I'm gonna talk to you about gradients in a rig design. More precisely with this little project I'm making with friends, because I get the question asked very often, not so much like a question, sometimes it's more like a comment on like, oh, your rigs look so nice with all the gradients and stuff, it must be a nightmare to animate, and I'll be honest, no, it's not. Because we were so very cautious and meaningful about where we put these gradients. And we only put gradients where it would first benefit the character and second be easy to animate. And when you have gradients, you have to understand that often it means that you have to use a weighted deform instead of a regular envelope, and it's also more heavy. So be careful where you put gradients, okay? I'm a big promoter of efficient rigging and design, and I still use gradients. This is because there are good ways to use them and there's less good ways to use them. Okay, so let's dive into it. So this is Ellie. She's a shape-shifting little druid, and to make her character a bit less flat, we do use a bit of gradients to give her a little punch. Where are these gradients? Well, like all her characters, she has a gradient on her forehead that just makes a good little transition between the top of her hair and the bottom of the face. It's very subtle. It's almost not noticeable, but it does make a big difference when you look at the animation. It gives a bit more depth to her character, and it is effortless to animate because it's just there. You don't need to move it or anything, it just follows the shape of the head. The other gradient I have in her case is she has one under her little arms here, just to separate it from the little hair tufts she has here, because if I remove it, like the color clashes a little bit, and I don't like it, and it also kind of makes it very, very flat. So by adding this very easy gradient on her arm, it just gives this much depth. It makes these little hair thing a lot bulkier and just, you know, it makes it look a bit more massive. And again, it's effortless because this gradient just moves with the arm and it doesn't touch the rotation point. So whenever she moves her arm, if she needs to put the arm in front of the other, it is not a problem because it's just going to appear in front of the other, and it doesn't matter. It's not going to affect the elbow. If I wanted to be fancy and put a design on the elbow, it would have been more work to do. So that's why none of her deck characters have fancy gradients on the elbow. I know it looks great. Everybody do it in their illustrations. I do it all the time. It does look great. Nightmare to animate. Don't do it. 10 on 10 would not recommend. Always remember that. You want to make your gradients where it's easy to move them. Here, I have a texture on the pocket. It's okay because the texture is limited to the pocket. So whenever I move the pocket, the texture follows. So super easy. Then she has a gradient here under her torso. It's super easy because when I move the full torso, the kind of gradient is just going to follow the torso. Okay, so it's very easy to animate it. If it goes a bit overboard, it's okay. I can just move it a little bit. Super easy because it moves with another piece. So if your gradient is being carried with another piece, this also can make it easier. This also has to do with your opinion. If you think it looks great, it looks great. If you think it looks awful, it looks awful. The only thing I'm trying to say with this is to make you kind of conscious of why and where you use gradients. Try not to make your rig a nightmare to animate just because it looks a certain way, and always question yourself, do I need that? And the last gradient is in the dress, but it's kind of attached to the dress. The only reason I have it on a separate layer is because I use two shapes of dress. I have like the deformer dress and a dress with a cutter, so I have like, you know, multiples. And also because if in a scene I do need to move it, I can always just put a peg on it and then move it. And also because sometimes I don't need a gradient, like if she's far away and I can just like turn it off by removing the layer and then I don't have a gradient. So that's why I set it on 2 layers. You don't always have to do that, but in our case it worked great. Like I said, if I remove it, sometimes you don't even notice that it's not there. But if she's close, that gradient does a whole lot of work. It's very subtle, but it brings the whole design together very well. Here, if you look at the dress and I remove the gradient, it does make a difference. It's subtle, but it makes it look great. I hope it was interesting, and like I said, be mindful of your gradients. The rule to remember is if you need extra work to move the gradient each time your character moves, it might not be the wisest choice. But if your gradient is kind of contained within the shape or close to the shape, it is much easier. So in that case, I have this gradient over my ear. I have a little gradient on her. I have a little like transparent shape on her little nose here, on her little like cheeks. I have the arm, the dress, but these are all very easy to manage and they don't bring a lot more work compared to what they bring to the character. And like I said, for the neck and for under the legs here, I have sharper shadows just because for us, it's what worked best. But of course, this is just our opinion. It's just how we do things. I was just trying to kind of teach you little problems that can appear when you use too many gradients. So it's more heavy and it's also a bit more trouble in animation. And avoid gradients when you have a lot of things connecting, like elbows and knees. Stop putting them there, it's annoying. And I hope you have a nice week and I'll see you again next time. Bye!